Gaza, and maybe the healthcare or the health facility and the health system was at the heart of this.
So, I just heard of something about the Argentinian uh, president, prime minister, whatever the hell he's supposed to be. Yeah, everybody was proclaiming he's a fascist and all that, you know. Yeah, I suppose he is, but in a way. But probably he's a bigger Tory than what he is a fascist. Which is probably about the same thing anyway, isn't it? Fascist, Tory, Tory, fascist. They're the same. It's Machiavellian politics. That's what it is. It seems anyway, what I've heard on the news there earlier, that he's had another protest against his so-called reforms. Yeah. He wants to do exactly as the Conservatives in Britain do. Junk everything. And I mean junk everything. Anything that's state-owned that supposedly brings money into the country anyway, is junking it all, selling it off. It is stated that he's got to sell it all off because there's no money in the country. But that's not true, obviously. If there was no money in the country, then the prices would have been away up there somewhere. Interest rates would have been away up there somewhere. And people would be so impoverished. Oh, yeah. They'd be setting the government buildings on fire, believe you me, they would. Not like the sad old British, of course, they're all wankers. They don't have a fucking clue. No, the Argentinians, yeah, they would have. But now that he's starting to junk everything that's state-owned, that actually brings money into the country, their prices are rising, their interest rates are going up, their electricity and gas prices are rising too, like England's. They're going to become a mini England. You watch this space. Yep, a mini little England. Oh, and he supports Israel too, by the way, and the bombing of the people of Gaza. And probably obviously supports what they're doing the West Bank too. Yeah, but he was over there talking to Netanyahu last week. But he's the sort of a person. There's no other option but to be friends with all the wrong people, and in the hope that he gets backing from them. If he needs backing from them, if he ends up in a situation at home where all the people of Argentina want him dead. Now there's a thing. That's in the making, by the way. That is definitely in the making over there. He's not going to last long. He won't. He can't. If he was British, of course, and he was in the English government, oh yeah, it would last for years. Because they're all wankers down there. Yeah. They wouldn't do a thing. They would just moan about it on media. That's English for you, but that's what I'm still going to turn into. I'm in England. He is more Machiavellian than what he is. But saying that, I mean, Machiavellian politics is, in a sense, fascist to a certain extent anyway. The Tories, the Conservatives, they've always practiced Machiavellian politics. That's what they do. But they call it conservatism. It's not conservatism. This guy's just doing the exact same thing. So everything's getting dumped, prices are rising, people are unhappy. And it'll take people some time probably to grasp the notion of actually burning the government buildings, whether he's in them or not at the time, because they were wanting rid of them, properly wanting rid of them, not like the British. Yeah. And they will get rid of them. They will. They will end up. I mean, if he was in there for long enough, they would end up in a coup situation, more than likely. And that's not a good thing. A military takeover. Probably. The army would see the niche market there. Oh yeah, that's what we can do. We can take over this country. Use him as the excuse. We can just do a military takeover, and they fucking would. They would. I mean, it's not like it doesn't have a military dictatorship before, and that was probably why they used the excuse of another very bad leader. And people that are not leaders anyway. A mobile phone fell over there on the table. They're not leaders anyway. Of course, they're not leaders. You show me one real leader in this world today who is in government right now. There's not one leader of men in government right now in this world. Not one. Yeah, most of them end up in government because of the mug punters of the country that are dumb enough to vote them in the first place. Because they're brought up with it, they don't know what else to do they? They're brainwashed into it. It's a brainwashing. Of course it is. And you used to hear people in Britain on social media saying to other people that said, well, I don't vote. So the mug punters of Britain would turn around and say to them, well, you don't have a say then. The fact is, everybody's got a say. If you're a citizen, you're born there, you've got a say. And if you live there as a citizen, even if you weren't born there, you've got a say. It's as simple as that. But it is a brainwashing. People, a lot of people, you find in most countries, the majority of people do believe that they've got to vote. They've got to vote. Got to. I done that survey across the internet years ago, across many different countries. And the answers were pitiful, really were. They were pitiful. Yeah. The majority of people do believe that. It's like being brainwashed into a religion. I believe in God. Yeah. And they're always going to be voting in rubbish to represent them. And they never ever learn their lessons that these people don't represent them. There isn't any government in the world today. There isn't any president or prime minister in the world today that actually represents the people that voted them into government. No. Who are they? They don't exist. Of course they don't. And people never learn a lesson. They never do. Because they're idiots. Try telling people that you don't need a to run a country. Yeah. The wheels of industry never stop turning. Not for anybody or anything. Not for all the tea in China. For nothing. Unless there was a nuclear war, that would be different. But other than that, no. And the wheels of industry would never take over the running of the country either, because they don't want that. They don't want hassled with all that bullshit. Yeah. They just do as they please, as they do at the moment anyway. In England, they certainly do as they please under that government. But man, it does look like a joke, man. He looks like something out of 1970s, that guy. He dresses like it as well. Jesus. How the hell Argentina ended up that desperate, I'll never know. Even Britain's not that desperate. Even though the English might seem to think so. They're retarded, but they would think that, wouldn't they? They exaggerate everything. Yeah. Me, I'm quite happy next year to go another 5 years under the Tories rather than vote Starmer into government. Just keep it as it is for the next 5 years. Then we'll see where we are with Labour in 5 years' time. Do they still have the same guy as their so-called leader? And if they do, don't vote for them. Don't vote for them again. Eventually they'll have to dump him. They'll have no other option. If they don't dump him after the next election, Starmer, that is, if he doesn't get dumped after the next election, if he fails to get voted, his party fails to get voted in, and with a lot of luck that will happen, then obviously in 2025, the same mugs that voted for him next year will vote for him again in 2025, what am I saying? 2029 will be the next election after next year's. And I bet you in the same mugs that voted him in next year, or tried to vote him in anyway, would vote for him in 2029 too. People that never learn lessons. Thick bastards. But obviously, I don't know. I mean, the way Labour sits at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost the election next year, Starmer, and the party kept him for the next 5 years as a so-called leader. That means in the 2029 general election they will also lose abysmally. Of course they will. Jesus. Because the people with the common sense and the brains, the educated people, that are dumb fucks in Britain, will never ever vote Labour. They're never going to do that now. And I'm talking about a lot of people that used to always vote like they're not going to do it this time. How the fuck? It was bad enough before, but since this stance on gun and all that, nobody wants a murdering bastard as a prime minister. I mean, yeah, he is a murdering bastard in principle, just like Sunak is, just like the rest of them are, all around the Western world in principle. They're all murdering bastards. If they were in the same situation as Netanyahu, what would they do? Obviously the same thing. So yeah, they might only be murdering bastards in principle only because they don't have the job that Netanyahu's got. But if they did have, they would be the same as him. They would do the same as what he's doing right now. Obviously. So, Nobody in their right mind's going to vote on scum like that. And besides, anyway, who started politics in the first place? The Conservatives in England, hundreds of years ago. And who were they? They were very wealthy scum. That's all they were. The only reason they started politics was to make themselves wealthier. And all the mugs of England, all up and down the country, even up here in Scotland, yeah, they'll continue to vote, to take part in that electoral system that was created by a bunch of rich fuckers that only wanted to make themselves wealthier off the backs of all the poor in England. And that was why your royal family got murdered. And then you thick bastards on here, even on YouTube, that are English, and haven't even heard of that. Get a fucking life, man. Jesus Christ. And the majority of English do believe that the Windsors are England's royal family. That in itself is laughable. That makes that country laughable, actually, in itself. And Argentina seems to be following suit. That's one man. Yeah. Fascist. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a racist, obviously, since he backs Ukraine as well, by the way. He's a definite racist. Oh, yeah. He backs the Azov Battalion. And so it's no great surprise that he backs Israel. Azov and Israel are the same. Pathetic, so it is. There isn't any left-wing politics left in the world today. Not even in the East, which Ukraine is, but when I say the East, I'm talking about China and the Middle East and all that. There is no, even in the Arab countries, it's all right-wing governments. Everything's right-wing in the world today. Everything. And I dare say the lefties fucked it up a long time ago anyway, with their bullshit. Especially here in Britain. Why they could ever proclaim that, communism originated from Russia, I'll never know. Beats the shit out of me. Fucking hell. Socialism existed well before Russia even existed. So that's bollocks for a start. Again, the ignorance of the English. Thick bastards. That's what you want to believe. Let them believe it. Let them be mugs. Let them make a cunt of themselves internationally across the internet. Let them. By all means, be our guest. Yeah, Jesus. And that's why nobody bothers with the lefties in Britain on social media. You won't get many people from other countries interfering with their posts because they're like, fuck off. I don't know what I do. That's a mad British man. That's a mad British thinking they're communists all over. And they are. They do think that. A lot of them think that communism and socialism is the same thing. It's an amazing amount of English that believe that. And the Conservatives and all the Zionist groups, the Baki Conservatives will use that as a weapon against socialism. Only because they left their feet in it by trying to proclaim that, oh yeah, we're socialists So what do they fly on their banners and all that on social media? The communist hammer and sickle from the Stalin era in Russia. The guy that killed 36 million Russian people only because they were protesting against what he was doing to them. Work slavery, basically, more or less. Slave labour wages, slave labour lifestyles, while he was living a high life. Yeah. Before, during, and before and during the time that he spent as very good friends with Winston Churchill, only because both of them were Zionist bastards. That's what brought them together. It wasn't World War II. They were already friends before any of that in the first place. Of course they were, and they were both in favour of getting rid of the Jews. Of course they were, the cunts. And they did in Russia too. The Ukrainians, while they were called Russians at the time, were the ones that bumped the Jews off in Russia. And yet they get a goddamn peak to have a monument for them, trying to proclaim it wasn't us. Yeah, it fucking was. It's all over international history. You can't miss it, man. It's not difficult to fucking find about their Arab hating and all the rest of it, and their anti-Semitism. Just like Israel, no fucking different, man. And yet they're the ones that shout out, and they would. They haven't, but they would probably. Just like Israel shout out anti-Semitism. It's a wonder they haven't actually. But then again, they're not Jews over there. The only one that's supposedly a Jew, and I would say is a false Jew of Israel, is Zelensky. The very first thing that happened on British television news was the Americans portraying him as a Jew. Oh, and they put a nice picture up too of him kneeling with a couple of little tea lights in front of a monument commemorating the poor bastards that the Ukrainians murdered in Ukraine before it was called Ukraine during World War II. Jewish people. You can't get more twisted than that, and that's Zionism for you. They're just twisted as fuck. They're twisted bastards. And that's what's running our world today, here in the West. And that's why the eastern side of the world wants to detach itself completely from the West. And I don't blame them. And that's a majority of it. What you're talking about, 80% of the planet wants detached from the West. They want fuck all to do with us. And you can't blame them either. If I was them, I'd be the same. I wouldn't want fuck all to do with us either. Because it's all about the politicians' wants. It's all about the people that get voted in the West. It's all about their lives and what they want and what they need. And the mugs that are stupid enough to vote them in the first place, it's their own faults for voting them in. Just don't take part in the voting system, that's all. And there will come a time. It would take them a long time before they would actually try and pass a law to say you've got to vote. But they would eventually. But if everybody still doesn't vote, they can't jail everybody. They can't jail the whole country. But if only one poor bastard didn't do it, then that one poor bastard would go to jail, and it would be on all the rest of them for actually voting in the first place, wouldn't it? Of course it would, because if everybody sticks to their guns, nothing the government can do. That's the government defeated. Argentina, that's going to be a laugh. He's going to try and take back the Falkland Islands again too. That'll be more public money in Britain wasted down the plug hole. It is anyway. Year in and year out. A handful of muppets that live in the Falkland Islands. We want to remain British, but we don't want to live in Britain. Fuck off. Nah. Besides, a scabby little island, and it does cost us millions every year. I wouldn't say billions, but millions it does. Just keeping those fuckers over there. I don't see the point. Yeah, I would hand it back to you, but I wouldn't hand it back. I would sell it to them. Yeah, I would sell it to them. If Argentina wants the Falklands back, they would have to buy it back. And they would. They might refuse. They might want to go to war with us because of something like that. So what do? You don't fight them in the Falkland Islands. You do to them what the British did to the German civilians, and what Israel is getting away with at the moment. You bomb Argentina. Fucking right. Strike them where it hurts. That'll fuck the little shits up. Then they would surrender. And then you have them sign an agreement to buy the Falkland Islands back. And once it's fully paid up, that ownership gets signed over to them. And not before. Yeah. While they're paying it up, they're only renting the Falkland Islands. But once it's fully paid up, then the ownership gets passed on to them. That's what I would do. I mean, that's a waste of fucking money. I mean, you got a bunch of cretins over there, right? If they want to be British, why aren't they living here then? What's so great about Falkland Islands? It's a shithole. It is a shithole. There's nothing nice about it. They get the same weather we get. In the winter, it's even colder. In fact, even in the summer, it's colder over there than what it is in Britain. As we all know. There's no feature. There's no feature for that. Ah, fuck that. Yeah, what can you do? What can you do with the Falkland Islands apart from waste taxpayers' money? Yeah. Yeah, I would sell it back to the bastards. They wouldn't get it for nothing. As for the people that live there, they would just have to be forcibly removed and brought over here if they want to remain British. It's entirely up to them. What do you want to do? If you want to remain British, you'll have to come with us to Britain. If you don't want to remain British and you want to become Argentinian, that's entirely up to you. Then that means you remain here in the Falklands. Yeah. And if they did choose the wrong thing, which would be under Argentina, I can guarantee you, Argentinians would treat them like shit because they're not Argentinian. They believe them to be British. Where they are, not it's another matter. They call themselves British. Who knows what they are? They could be a breed of their own over here. Fucking hell. Yeah, true. So there's something anyway. They call themselves British, but they don't want to live in Britain. Yeah. That should have been sorted out a way back when Maggie Thatcher went to war with the Argentinians. She shouldn't have fought for that. She should have got around the table. And instead of sending soldiers over there to get shot and whatever, and sinking their Belgrano, wasting taxpayers' money and all that shit. What she should have done is got around the table with General Galtieri at the time, wasn't it? And then handed those islands back. And with that, representatives from the island, of the people of that island, should have been present at those meetings too. That's what should have happened a way back then, in the late 70s, early 80s, 1980s. A couple of years before I left school. It was the dumbest thing ever. Wasting our taxpayers' money, fighting Argentinian soldiers that weren't even a fighting force, really. Fuck's sake. Wearing shorts in the freezing cold winter weather, you know. Who remembers that? Yeah. That was a waste of taxpayers' money. That's all the politicians are good at, wasting taxpayers' money. And that's why we pay taxes. They tell us we pay taxes to pay for the run of this country, but we don't. Taxes alone cannot run a country, any country. Don't matter what's going. No, even the Falkland Islands, actually. Not even them. No. Well, I must say half of the tax money gets spent on the Tories or Labour, whoever's in government at the time, on their free lunches and whatever. All their expenses get paid. Not to mention the fake royal family, the Windsors. That's what it's really for. Tax money. Yeah, that's why so many councils in England keep going bankrupt all the time. Jesus. If the tax money was really meant for that purpose, then it would get spent on that purpose. It doesn't. And that's why. The more of it gets spent on lunch expenses and everything else, and second homes for MPs and all that. Not to mention, as I say, the fake royal family and the upkeep of their palace and everything else. Yeah, it's pathetic. But that's the way that English think, isn't it? Stupid as fuck. Who on earth in their right mind would want to be run by that? Nobody. Fucking idiots. Anyway, I'm out of here.